welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're waiting on Dr. Jones. She should be joining us shortly. Hi. Thank you for joining. Hi. All right, y'all. Dr. Jones is joining now. Hey, Dr.
Hi.
Jones.
I feel like I'm so close up. They can smell
Hey.
breath through the camera. Hi, friend.
Hey. How are
Happy Monday,
you?
everyone. I'm okay. How are you?
Good. It's breaking up on my end. Can you guys still see and hear me?
Ooh. Is it me breaking up?
Yes, like I see the loading circle, like something. Okay, let's see if that works. How's this, y'all?
Somebody say you're good. Am I
Can you
good?
still
Oh,
hear me?
yep. I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, you guys, welcome. Please let us know if we have any technical difficulties. Look, just
Oh,
let us
somebody
know.
said that
Okay, someone
I'm
said
still
Dr.
breaking
Jones is
up.
breaking up.
Am I still breaking up? I hope not. They don't. I feel like lately they haven't been wanting us to be great. I don't like it.
I'm telling you, y'all report Instagram. No, I'm just playing Instagram.
Who they gonna report Instagram to, friend?
I know.
They gonna tell Instagram what Instagram?
Right. Y'all ain't hear that from me though.
Am I still breaking up?
It's a little delayed, but it's clearing up. So, yeah, guys, just let us know if you guys can't hear us at all or if it's breaking up at all, and we'll try to make it work.
Yes.
So, we
Yes.
are going to jump in because you already know Instagram only gives us a good old hour. So, without further ado, someone said, "Hello, I can hear both of you. You sound good on
Okay,
my
good.
end." Good. Okay, good, y'all. Yes.
Okay,
So,
so let's just go straight to it. First of all,
let's
hi.
get started.
Started talking and didn't even greet the people. I greeted you, didn't greet the people, and the people matter. So hi everybody out there. Happy Mental Health Monday. Happy Monday. Hope everyone's week is
Yes.
a great week. Today's topic is grief. We're
Yes.
gonna go deep. Hopefully we don't cause any tears or anything, but we're here. We're gonna talk. But as you know, we have to always let you guys know this is not counseling. This is two professionals having a conversation that have experience, and we're going to use personal experience and professional, and that's why we do it, so we can let you guys know like we're human, we can relate to you guys, and also hopefully help people that's on their journey as well. I'm honored to talk to my lovely business partner, the dopest business partner, and share her
Oh,
with this platform.
I love it.
And we're going to go straight into it. As you who don't know, first time joining, I'm Dr. Jones, and this is my business partner,
Dr.
Dr. Hill.
Hill.
So there you go.
Yes.
And someone said, oh, we look beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we do want to mention, like we said, this is not a form of counseling. However, if you are interested in receiving counseling, please send us an email at info@stepscounselingconsulting.com, or you can click the link in the bio and go on our website and fill out the contact info form. So if you are interested in saying yes to counseling, please reach out to us. We are always accepting new clients. So we
Yes.
definitely want to put that out there. So, yes, let's jump in it. So, like Dr. Jones said, tonight's topic is about grief. And the thing about grief is there's actually different types of grief, right? The common grief that most of us know is when someone transitions on, someone that we love has passed away, or a family friend, a friend. So that is one form of grief. But then you also have another form of grief, and that's grieving someone that's still physically here. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is more so like relationship grief, right? It's real. Relationship is real. Relationship grief is real. Even if it's toxic, you
Yeah.
still go through those 7 stages. So, with that being said, Dr. Jones, what has your experience been with grief with those two different types? Have you experienced one or have you experienced both?
I definitely experienced both. Where do we go first? Because they're like the same but different. You know what I mean? Because
Right. Oh, we can't hear you anymore, Dr. Jones.
for the day. I said I was going to do it and didn't do it. Sorry. We back. We're
Oh
back
no,
in
it's
motion.
okay.
Um, when you grieving someone or something, and I say something because I lost my dog recently, so that's also a form of grief. And I had my baby for 7 years, so that was a grief process. Um, and then I lost close relatives, you know, as well as friends. And then when you in a relationship with someone that you've been with for a certain amount of time. Like I was with someone for 5 years and I grieved it because you become used to someone. And then
Right.
people don't realize when they go through a divorce, they go through a grieving stage as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I
Yes.
feel that's least talk about. No, I've never been married, but I've counseled people who gone through divorce, and we're going to go over the 7 stages, but those really hit divorces for real. You know what I mean? Especially when
Right.
there's kids involved and finances, and that really hit the stages. So I think it's important
Mm-hmm.
for to really discuss it, because when people think someone is grieving, um, they really feel like it has to do with someone like transforming, whatever your belief is, but that's no longer physically here. And I think people need to realize that there's other forms of grief. And then sometimes people grieve themselves. Like people
Yeah.
lose who they were. Or I've watched someone
Mm-hmm.
have a career where they were making so much money, and
Mm-hmm.
then they decided to change career and it wasn't what they thought. And they went through a grieving process, and I don't think they realized it. You know what I mean? So grief
Right.
really impact you um in so many different ways, and it's just a matter of how you deal with it. And
Absolutely.
most importantly, do you allow yourself to deal with it? And I think that's what we really need to touch base on, because I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if they choose not to deal with it because they don't realize that they're grieving,
Mm-hmm.
or those who are super strong and choose not to deal with it. And
Right.
posted earlier, you hear so common, I'm okay, but I have to be strong for everyone else. It's like you hear that so many times.
Much.
It's like, but what about you? You know what I mean? And those are the
Right.
that's like really out of nowhere, just hit them, bam, out of, whether it's
Yeah.
a week later, a year later, it's like, because you had to be there for everybody else. But what about you? And it's like,
Right.
often in the middle of trauma or stress, we forget about the most important person,
Ourselves. Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So it's like, we have to stop that. We really
Right.
have to stop. And people don't understand how that impact people mentally. And I'm also glad we're talking about this because Mother's Day is Sunday.
Right.
And we have a lot of people who lost their mom. So while everybody celebrating their mom, and you're going to see all the posts and stuff, and then it's like, I don't have my mom anymore, or those who maybe miscarried and they'll never had the opportunity to become a mom. You know
Right.
what I mean?
That grievance.
It's that as well as a miscarriage, and I
Yeah.
definitely grieved with that. You know what I mean? So it's just so many, but I feel like, to answer your question, they all hit different.
Mm-hmm.
They all hurt, but they all hit completely different. And although I'm blessed to be a mom already, I still have my moments where I grieve my miscarriage, because I don't think I ever healed from that. And I honestly don't know if you could really heal from grief. I feel like you learn how to deal with it,
And
but
cope with it. Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone is really like, I'm healed. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
heal should be present term. I feel like healing should be like healing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
Babbled on. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts?
No, no, you said some amazing things with grief because, especially, I have to really go back to what you said about grieving a pet or grieving a miscarriage, like automatically when you say grief, people automatically think like, oh, the transition of a loved one, right? But no, these are actual, like, to be honest, I was growing up, I had animals. We talked about this before. I had dogs growing up, but I never was really super close to an animal until I met your pet, until we met Chi Chi.
Auntie.
I was an auntie. Y'all, I've never loved a dog until I met Chi Chi. And so with that, when I really seen, I was with you the day you found out. I literally just
Mm-hmm.
got off the plane and got in the
Mm-hmm.
car with
I was
you.
on my way to pick you up.
Pick me up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it really hit me like, no, this is her fur baby. This has been someone that's been a part of her life. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is a grievance, when you have that fur baby. And it just really, after I left you, I really thought about it. Like, there's no real support out here for people who have lost an animal, if you really think about it. Like, there's support hotlines for when you grieve a loved one, there's support hotlines for when it's suicidal, but is there really resources out here for people who lose a pet? A lot of times people stigmatize and be like, oh, it's just an animal, get another one. But it's not that simple.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna be real transparent, super transparent, and I hope nobody don't be offended by this. I feel like it is, but I feel like our people, when I say our people, I feel like African American people don't really recognize the resources. And it's not because they don't want to, because I know a lot of African Americans or Black people who lost pets and grieve. I feel like because we were never taught about those resources, that
Mm-hmm.
there aren't any. And the only reason why I say that is because my dog had really bad diabetes, and I'm an old lady. I love Facebook groups. Don't judge me. I am a Facebook group person.
Yes, you are. You love Facebook.
I love Facebook group. So I joined a Facebook group for dogs with diabetes, and the
Wow.
amount of support and resources. But I was like it was like 1,000 members, and I was like one of the only Black people. And I only
See, I
thought of
didn't know they had that.
Girl, me either. But I'm a Facebook group junkie because it's so informative and it's a good
Right.
networking, opportunity. And it's like people that's like asking like this. I miss because I had to give my dog insulin and everything. I miss insulin. What should I do? And then people who dog passed away, they posting the picture, and the amount of love and support. It was just like, wow. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
but we were never taught that. We were never, you know
Mm-mm.
what I mean? So even when there's support for people who, lose moms and stuff, but we're also not taught like maybe you should go to therapy, maybe you should go to support group. I just feel
Right.
like we were just never
Taught
taught
that. Right. Not
that.
for
So
animals.
it's definitely out there. I just feel like we just need to do the research, and I feel like it needs to be brought more to our community. So I feel like half of it,
Yeah.
excuse me, I feel like, and if it is, it's brought to communities where they feel like would be more receptive to it. You know what I mean? So that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to cut you off and say, because like I said, I
Oh,
didn't
I'm
know
glad you said that. I didn't know
until I looked
that.
it up. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
so many people up there, and it was just like I was like scrolling through, and I never commented. I was just like amazed, but it also made me
Right.
feel like, oh, I'm not the only person that's going through this. You know
Through
what I mean?
that. Right.
A lot from it as well, but they're out there. It's just a matter of doing the
Really
research.
finding it. So I stand corrected, you guys. Like, I didn't even know this. Again, I'm not a pet owner, but it was just like, what is really out there? But you're right. The fact of you being the only, African American in that group, or it's a small group. So back to what we were saying, yeah, it's just, you can grieve an animal, you can grieve your pet, and I definitely seen that firsthand with you, and that really opened my eyes to just grief is not just a person. So I would say for me, when it comes to grief, I have experienced the grief of the transition of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the hardest one for me is losing my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, it was because we were so close in age. So it like really hit me. Um, when they did pass on, it just felt too real. And to be very honest, as you talked about earlier with grievance, it's one of those things where you really never heal. You just
Mm-hmm.
learn to live on with it. And I think for me, I was in stage one, and we'll definitely get in those stages. If you haven't seen, that was our latest post, the 7 stages of
Mm-hmm.
grief. But I think for me, I was in stage one of shock and
Mm-hmm.
loss for so long. And to be very honest with you, I think sometimes I still travel back to that, where it still hits me like, oh my gosh, it's been a year and I'm still like not fully, I won't say I haven't accepted it. It's just hard
Yeah.
to, if that makes sense. It's hard to accept it. So I would say for me, that was the time where I really understood my clients,
Mm-hmm.
where in your stages of grief, there can be time where you're on stage seven and then immediately go back to stage one. And I think for me, it's more so like holidays that I go back sometimes to stage one. Like, for example, when I graduated with my doctorate, my cousin would have been the first one to hype me up.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting like a Facebook memory that day
I remember you
where
saying,
she actually congratulated me from when I got my master's. And it was like the timing of it. But though it was so beautiful, it like hit me. And I
right.
just didn't even know how to explain to
Mm-hmm.
anybody that that grief hit me in such a very big moment.
Right.
So you can go like with those stages, you can be at stage seven for a year and it could be Christmas. And now we're back at stage one.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been my experience with grief. And I see people joining. Please, this is an open discussion.
Yes.
Please share with us and let us know your forms of grief. Have you also experienced the grief of someone transitioning, but also, like we mentioned, the grief of someone physically here? For me, with someone being physically here in grievance, it hasn't been a relationship, but I can say I have grieved a friendship.
Mm.
You
And
know,
it's
where
feelings, right?
it's two different feelings. You can definitely grieve a loss of a friendship, especially a friend that you've been friends with for years,
Mm-hmm.
years. And so those moments where you hear a certain song and it makes you think of that person, or you go and eat somewhere and you're like, man, I remember when being so and so. So that's also, you can grieve a friendship. You
Mm-hmm.
can definitely grieve someone who is still physically here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and if with any other type of griefs that we may have missed out, like yeah, someone just commented and said, I definitely don't deal with grief well. Also, if I lose someone, the grief of everyone and everything hits at once and feels fresh. Yes,
Hmm.
thank you so much for bringing that up. One death could be so triggering for so
All
many.
the others.
You
Hmm.
know, like I know people who won't go into a funeral home anymore after because they start thinking of so many other past deaths or certain like my dad. You know, he's super private, so he's probably mad at open up and say this. But he hates the
Now,
song.
don't get in trouble now.
I know, right? Um he hates the song Amazing Grace because they sang it at my Uncle Steve, and that's his brother. He was super close, so he actually died a month and 3 days before I was born. Um, and that song is a song that brings him back to that funeral. So like commercial come on, my dad will change the channel. You know, you hear Amazing Grace anyway.
Right.
I mean, and I'm in my 30s. And that, you know, I said he's born a month and 3 days, died a month and 3 days before I was born. And it still is super triggering
Yeah.
for him. You know what I mean? So yeah, one, and like we've had family members who passed away, and my father like, I see you at the repast. I'll cook for the,
Yeah.
you know, a couple he came, but I don't even think he went up. It's like because it takes him, he still hasn't fit, you know, healed from his brother. So yes, a lot of people don't take grief well. And when you say don't,
Right.
meaning because people handle it different, right? So just because you don't see someone cry don't mean they handle it well. That means they
Hmm.
it different from you, because some people may not shed one tear, but some people also can't get out the bed. You know what I mean? Some people cut off people. Some people, you know what I mean? So
Right.
interested to know what's your definition of not well, because everyone handle it so completely different. So don't think handling not well is only hysterically crying, because there's different ways to handle it and not handle it well. So I'm interested
Right.
to know what you mean by not handling grief well. Um, what are your thoughts about that? Like, do you have you? I'm sure your clients witnessed that. Like, not witnessed that. You witnessed that with your client. Like, maybe someone passed away and they start talking about other people who passed away, or
Yeah.
hmm?
Yeah, it can definitely trigger, the loss of one person can trigger, the feelings that you never really felt for other people, or the feelings that you did feel, you
Yeah.
know. That's so definitely, that is so true. And I even want to piggyback on what you said. Like, you don't have to cry hysterically to still feel the grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people think that, like, oh, if they're not crying, if they're not always talking about it, if they're not sad about it, they're not dealing with it. I know for me personally, even as a therapist, you know, to be very honest, a person who really knows how much I feel about this is really my husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that I'm not in a stage of wanting to talk about it, but I'm still understanding it. I'm still processing it. I'm still healing with it. So a lot of times with people, don't think they immediately moved on from it because they're not talking about it. A lot of times they just don't know the words, or they're still trying to figure out, what does this mean moving forward in my life now that this person has transitioned. So I love that you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. I see
So
someone comment. Oh, I think we were saying the same
yeah, go
thing.
ahead. Go ahead. So
Someone
sisters.
said, so sisters, someone says the loss of career due to retirement. Whoa, that is definitely, you can definitely grieve the loss of a job. You can definitely grieve the transition of a milestone in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is very true. What do
Thank
you think about that, Dr. Jones?
Absolutely, because especially if you had a job, the same job for like 20, 30 years, and may not be the only reason, but that's all you know. And then sometimes like you see some people go back to like older people, they like back at Walmart or like different things because they have to keep themselves busy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or when they had a certain title at a certain job, some people really need that leadership role to feel like they have a purpose. So when that no
Hmm.
longer there, some people don't know how to handle it, or some people look forward to retirement. They're like, yeah, because I'm tired of working. And then it's like, I'm home doing nothing. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
what to do now? And some people really lose it. Like some people have to keep busy and they don't know how to handle it. And then it's like, should I have done it? Did I retire so early? And they definitely go through the 7 stages, because especially with depression, loneliness, and reflection. Like if you're used to being around all these people every day and you're not anymore, you know what I mean? It's
Right. Or you may work your life. That's all you ever did.
And then especially if you're an empty nester, you don't have any kids, maybe if you're single, not single, you definitely experience those things. And then you start looking for other things to do. And then other people start feeling like you're a nag because they always call you. They got all this extra time, you know? So then they really feeling like bothered because no one is available as they are. You know what I mean? So they start their
Hmm.
feelings. So yeah, absolutely. Retirement sometimes is amazing for some people, and sometimes it's like the absolute opposite. So it's good for those who are looking to retire, have a hobby. And nowadays people retiring earlier than before. You see everybody retiring in their 60s. Sometimes
Right.
retiring earlier and think that's what they want to do, and then after it's like, wait a minute.
I was kind of tripping.
Right.
Right. I could have took
Something else
Barbara. I could
to
have
do.
took Barbara. Right.
Yeah, and then they start feeling, and when people, idle mind sometimes is the worst place to be. So when you're like sitting there with absolutely nothing to do, that idle mind make you start thinking negative thoughts about yourself, negative thoughts
Absolutely.
about others, start doing negative things. So when you don't have anything to do, it's not always good. And I mean, we always promote rest and self-care and the break, but when that's like your only thing, after a while it's like
Yeah. You can really feel it. You can feel that stage of fear and guilt.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
I'm sorry, but that made me also
No.
think about people could also grieve when I mentioned empty nesters, because I've had clients who's like super excited that their kids go off to college, and then they couldn't wait for their kids to go off to college because
Right.
break, and they are grieving.
Mm-hmm.
They are grieving, and it's like, maybe I shouldn't have let him or her go. What was I?
Right.
And they go through those stages because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and I keep saying let's stages. Should we just repeat the stages? I feel like we keep saying the
Yes.
stages and not saying it.
Right. So we have stage one, shock and denial. Stage two, pain and guilt. Stage three, anger and bargaining. Stage four, depression, loneliness and reflection. Stage five, the upward turn. Stage six, reconstruction. And then stage seven, which is acceptance and hope.
Mm-hmm. And the acceptance is hope is what you mentioned that you once were, and then sometimes you find yourself back at stage one
Stage one, right.
in shock. And usually that's the way it goes. It goes in that pattern, but sometimes you may go back a few steps, and it happens. It
Right.
happens. It's just that you tie into the tools that you used before to go back to try to get back to the acceptance and hope. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Excuse me. It's a matter of just, it's important to use your tools. And when I say tools, I mean, again, we discussed everyone does something different, right? Everyone cope with grief differently. So it's a matter of what made you, or how did you get there? Like, what are some,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Hill, that, because you and I both offer grief therapy. What are some tools that you offer your clients to help them better cope? And when it comes to grief therapy, I don't tell my client I'm gonna help you heal. Like, usually, like other stuff, I'm like, we in this healing journey. For this one, I use more coping more than anything, because grief is a
Right.
really challenging thing to heal. What are some coping tools
Right.
you use with your clients?
Well, it really depends on the type of grief. And I think someone else just mentioned another type of grief that I definitely want us to chime in on. But it really depends on the type of grief. For example, if it's a grief of, someone transitioning,
Mm-hmm.
something that I like to do with my clients is we definitely go over these stages together, and
Mm-hmm.
I have them identify what stage are we on right now. And the
Good.
reason why I do that is because I like for them to see what their starting point is, and then that way, as we're going through the steps, as we're processing, we're going to come back to that, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going to see, okay, where are you at now?
Mm-hmm.
And then as we keep going, we're going to come back to that even more. So we actually repeatedly go back to those stages because it allows them to see their growth, but it also allows them to see when they might go back in stages. So for example, one client in particular, they were on stage seven, for this past year. However, their anniversary came up. And so now we're back on stage
Mm-hmm.
three. So it
Okay.
allows them to really identify what I'm feeling. So it's easier for them to say, Dr. Hill, I think I'm back on stage three. So really helping them identify the stages. And
Mm-hmm.
then another thing that I do is having them write a letter to the person.
Mm-hmm.
And this allows them to get those words out because a lot of times people deal with the guilt of, I never got to say what I want to say, or I never got to share how much I love them. So, something that I will have them to do is, hey, you don't have to stop talking to them. It doesn't have to be on a spiritual sense, it doesn't have to be on a religious perspective, but
Mm-hmm.
this can be on a healing perspective where
Mm-hmm.
you can still talk to them and write a letter. And I've noticed from my clients, that is something that really, really helps because it allows them to feel like that person is still there. It allows them to feel like there's still a way for them to communicate. So
Mm-hmm.
that is something. Another thing that I do, I'm giving out my tools, but another thing I like to do is also, having a space in your home where you honor them, right? So it doesn't have to be a full out altar, but it's okay to have a picture and their hat,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have that right there as a remembrance. But before I even suggest that, we really have to see where you are, because that can also be a trigger. The
Yeah,
same way that it can be healing, it can also be a trigger. So that
absolutely.
more so comes into play when I'm really evaluating how the client feels. So that's more so transition.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for example, I've had clients who have grieved who they were before after an accident, or
Mm-hmm.
after after having cancer or a disease, or you can grieve who you used to be. And
Absolutely.
because now people can be dealing with that guilt, what is who I was before, I'm no longer them
You breaking
now.
up a little.
Uh-uh. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah, now I can. It was breaking up for a little bit.
Okay, but yes, just basically like there's people out here who grieve after having, like I said, an accident or a sickness, and
Mm-hmm.
grieving who they used to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so that requires different tools in the toolkit, right? So now we're not writing a letter to that person that transitioned, but we might be writing a letter to your past self, or we might be trying to understand, okay, but who are we now, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can we heal now? So these are different ways that I handle it. What about you?
So all the three things that you mentioned, I definitely do the letter. I definitely do the honor, the space. When I used to do in person before COVID, because now we're only virtual, I was always a big fan of the empty chair technique with the dissolve.
Yes.
Um, because it's just like, picture this person in this chair. It's kind of difficult to
Hmm.
virtual. Like, go get in the living room. We're
Right, it is. Go talk to the share,
gonna
right?
I stopped doing it virtually, but that was really a big one for me. And I kind of used to go behind the person, like act like I'm not there. Like I want you to vision this person. And I did it with those who divorce, transition, different things, because even like you're going through divorce and that person's still here, you guys are arguing so much that y'all can't even get a word in. You know what I mean? So it's like, have this moment. This is picture this person. Like, sometimes you just put the name on the chair, like vision. Just have that moment. Take a deep breath,
Right.
picture, and let it out. And then so many different emotions come to it. Sometimes people, and this, you'll be surprised how many times people are offered an opportunity to let it out and can't, because
Yes.
it's never actually got it. So when they have the opportunity, it's like, I don't even know where to begin, because then they become so overwhelmed with the thoughts and words. It's like, I have so much to say. And I'm like, start. There's no right or wrong. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm a big fan of the empty chair technique. The ones who grieve who they once were, I tried to find what characteristic that they're actually grieving. Some
Hmm.
may be physical, and at that point, we have to do reality. At that
Right.
point, you know what I mean? It's like, unfortunately, of course, we're empathetic towards it, but we can't change the physical part. But
Right.
what's about the characteristic about you that you still have? Let's
That we
talk about
love.
that
Hmm.
we love. You know what I mean? So sometimes I have to remind them, like, you think you're not you, but are you not you because of something physical that you don't?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying
Or
they're wrong,
something with your ego. Yeah, your
right?
ego will
Because
make you feel like you're not you.
absolutely. So I'm not saying, but then I try to highlight what they still have and who they still have. You know what I
All
mean? So
right.
we write it down. Bring pictures out. Some things, like what's let's really point out. Sometimes people have to really see, like, oh, it's not that much different. You know what I mean? So
Right.
trying to find the good and let them realize, like, no, you still have that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's your mind making you feel like that. And that's okay, because that's why we're here. But we're gonna go through that process together. And with the honoring a place in your home, especially with kids, like, usually if it's an adult, I'm more so like, we come up with certain things they could do. But with with children, we do it together. So I may, you know, get a box, kind of difficult virtual now, but I let the parents know, have the tools ready. We're gonna get a shoe box, we'll decorate it, and then it could be their personal keepsake box, you know, with
Yes.
t-shirt in there, a picture, a piece of jewelry, whatever it is, that's your box. And then you put things there. And if you want to write a letter, you put the letter in there. You know, whatever it is that you need, you just put it in there. And then my other corny favorite one, I haven't done this. I used to more so do it when I was a school counselor, but like come up with like words and sayings and positive things, and then that day go in that jar and take what you need. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
take what you need and to help you get through that day, because some days are harder than others. So let's go in that jar we made of positive things and reminders, and let's go in there and take what you need. So those are some of the things I have used. And of course, yeah, somebody said journal. Yeah, I didn't mention
Yes.
journal because I'm always suggesting journal. Like
Yes.
journal,
Yes.
journal, 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 journal. It's up to me. Everybody, you get a journal, you get a journal. Everybody get a journal.
Okay. Everybody needs a journal.
Everybody. So no, that's not too cliche. Yes, definitely journal. I even tell people, because I know time is of essence. So what I started doing, because sometimes I don't have the time to journal, just put a couple of keyword notes in your phone. Everybody have a phone. So have a section. It's like 2-3 sentences. Like if you could text somebody, you could find a minute to just text out just a couple of thoughts, just to let it out. Breathe after,
Mm-hmm.
and then close your phone. But if you could thoroughly journal, absolutely. But if not,
Yes.
up your notes section, lock it. It's your personal thing, and get a few thoughts out.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. I
Mm-hmm.
see some people comment, and
Positive people. Sorry, that's
no, you can.
important.
Oh
Surround
my
yourself
God.
with people that makes you laugh. I'm always laughter. And I also tell them, you go home, what's your favorite movie? What's the funny movie? Go home, and
Right.
when you get off
Get
this
in
set,
that comfort.
just find a way to watch. I don't care if you saw this movie 50 million times. If you know you're going to laugh at Martin, like I'm going to laugh at some part of Martin, some way, somehow. I'm fine.
Right. Right.
Whatever or whoever makes you laugh, find it. So I'm also a big fan of laughter.
I agree. When you're grieving, be careful the company you keep around you,
Mm.
right? If we're just people who like to sulk in it because it brings them attention,
And
right? We're just gonna keep it real here. You have some people who crave the attention that comes with transitioning. And so if it's people like that and you feel like you can't breathe around them, remove yourself. I'm all for that. Surround yourself around positive people while you're healing. And I also want to mention, this is perfect for parents out there. This is something I also did as a school counselor, the box. If
mm-hmm.
you have a child and they are aware that someone has passed on and they are experiencing grief, creating that box with them, it is so beneficial. It's so
Both
ben-
parties.
Yes, because it allows them to really understand. It gives you both a chance to talk about how they feel. You get to understand their level of grievance.
Mm-hmm.
I did that with a student who actually was swimming with one of her cousins, and the cousin drowned,
Oh
and
no.
she couldn't save the cousin, and that was hard for a little fifth
I'm
grader, to experience.
so young.
Yeah, she was in fifth grade. But when I say that box helped
Mm-hmm.
her so much, and her mom was like, "You have no idea. Like this helped us to talk about it. Like, thank you." At that time, I was Miss Ellis, but she was like, "Thank you so much, Miss Ellis. Like, you just don't know. Like, this box helped us. Like, it's even helping me." So I definitely want to suggest that to parents out there. There are ways that you can communicate with your children, especially when they're experiencing grief at such a young age. So I love that you brought that up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You
So
said Miss. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm back
oh
in.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, she went from
I
Miss to Mrs.
Miss
Hill to
look.
Hill.
I've
Gosh,
been
I'm
my
sorry.
name. Say my name. Look, I've been all
Hey.
types of names, y'all. That was my maiden name. He put a ring on it. No, I'm just playing. I'm just kidding, y'all. But no, yes, this was back in the day when I was Miss Ellis. So it's just definitely that is something that you can definitely. And as we're talking about children, I want to go back to this comment. What about grief of parent separation on children? That is a good one. What do you think, Dr. Jones?
When you say parent separation, meaning the moving a child moving on, getting married, or not talking anymore? which separation? I mean, you could grieve both, but I need to know which way we're going with this.
No, that's good clarification because you know what? I actually took it different. I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking more about them saying like both parents not being in the household. So when they
Mm-hmm.
talk about the grief of parent separation, like your parents splitting up and no longer having both in the household. So if you can, this
Mm-hmm.
is such a powerful question. And I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Zindari or Zindari. If you can please tell us what you mean by that because this is a big
But that
one.
we raised three different great topics, though.
Right, it did.
I feel like we should talk about it all. We don't have much time, but I feel like we should talk about it all. So parent separation, like I have a lot of because you know I work with a lot of adolescents who does not handle parents divorce well. A parent, you know, that I haven't had too many cases that it went well. You start seeing grades drop. You start seeing attention seeking behavior. You start, you know what I mean? They start doing things hoping it would bring their parents back together. It's hard for them to accept their parents moving on to someone else. Um, oh, she said separation of parents will not be in the
Parents
home.
moving in
Yeah.
the home. Okay, that's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
they definitely I definitely see the grief in that. And I realized grief also happens because a routine is broken, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that child is so used to a certain type of feeling, a certain type of love, you know, feeling like a level of love in the home, and all of a sudden it's taken from them. You can't really, you know, people don't do well with broken routines. So you can't be
Right.
not, you know, being able to handle that. So it's like every day waking up to mommy and daddy or mommy, you know, whatever it is in their household. And all of a sudden, either one passed away or one found another, you know, girlfriend, boyfriend. And I think like parents so many times don't want to hurt the child that they wait till the last minute. So it doesn't even give the child time to
To
mentally
process it.
process it
Mm-hmm.
and prepare. Not saying it will help change their feelings, but at least give them time to process. Because you don't wake up today like, okay, I'm getting a divorce. You know what I mean? This, I'm 9 out of 10 times there were behind the door, you know, conversations already. And I
Mm-hmm.
know it's not easy to tell the child, but you're not benefiting the child by waiting to last minute. So when I work with these adolescents, I do an activity. Well, first I like to see how they view both homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I do an activity where there's two different houses, and then we're gonna draw the activity like how do you see mommy's house? So it's my, you know, so activity as young as 5 years
Guys,
old, and
I'm
they may
sorry.
put fun. Your limitation, your screen
Yeah,
time.
sorry guys. I got a social media timer. I only give myself a certain amount of time. So I'm sorry my alert went off.
That's what happened to me earlier. But yeah, I've done this activity as long as 5 years old because it gives me an idea of what I'm working with. So
Mm-hmm.
once the house separates, they say fun house or
Mm-hmm.
or I have my own room here. I don't have my own room here. Stepmother here, stepmother there. You know what I mean? So that's when the house
Right.
already separated. And when it's preparing to separate, I allow them to be completely honest about what they feel. Because what goes wrong is children don't want to tell their parents all the time how they feel because they're scared to hurt the other parent's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Or parents put their child in the middle. Please, I am begging y'all parents
Don't
to
do it.
stop. Please, we really need more co-parenting classes, and we need people to take it because a lot
Right.
of people do not know how to put their frustration, their anger aside for the children. You don't understand how much that can impact a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being honest. Again, I'm in my 30s and I still feel some type of way. Like my first picture with my parents, I remember was when I graduated college at 22. You know what I mean? So now they get along great, which is amazing. But I needed that before. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they
Earlier
were
in my
young.
life.
I'm young. So they work with what they know. But I understand that y'all can't stand each other. yeah, whatever happened, who did what, that child feels it. And then sometimes I hear, well, he or she got her own cell phone. He could call the phone then. That's not helping. So
Right.
graduation, you here, you there. You know what I mean? I remember like graduation. It's like, who you going to dinner with? Mom or dad? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
always, you know, and I hated that because it's like, okay, so we'll go with you next. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, as
Right.
much as you try not to put them in the middle, you're putting them in the middle
Yeah.
and adding to the grief. You know what I mean? So mine necessarily wasn't grief because my stepmother did my life since I was like 2 years old. So she's dope. She's amazing. So I didn't necessarily experience one leaving the home, but I grieved when I saw what other people had.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
saw other people with their, biological mom. And, so when you're young, you want the stereotypical, what people say what a family should look like until you realize, and I got older, I'm like, no, my mother and father definitely shouldn't be together. But it took me as an
I'm like,
adult,
whoo.
like, yeah, it wouldn't work. Like, yeah, dad, yeah,
Yeah, mine either.
stay with my stepmother, yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're young, you can't process that. You know what I
You
mean?
don't
So you
see that.
definitely grieving what you wish you had. And I
Yeah.
definitely feel like I grieved that.
Yeah.
What do you
You
think?
you just said it all, honestly. I don't, you just said it all right there. I will say, a takeaway for parents: communicate, 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 and be transparent and be vulnerable. A lot of times as parents, we feel like when we come to our kids that we're supposed to come at this level of know it all. And one thing I think is so beautiful is when you come to your child and really just be honest and say, I'm human
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still learning, mommy's still learning, daddy's still learning. We may not always get it right. We may not always be perfect, but know that we love you. Please let us know how you feel. You doing that moment of vulnerability, you're teaching your child something so powerful. Number one, you're teaching them how to identify how they feel. You're teaching your child that it's okay to admit that you don't have it right or that you just don't know and you're figuring it out. And you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching them that vulnerability. And that is something, I'm going to be all the way honest. I think vulnerability is something that is missing in the Black community, right? Where really admitting how you feel about things or talking to your child and letting them know, like, hey, I might have messed up on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, mommy and daddy are still figuring it out. So I'm just going to wrap that up because you said it all, Dr. Jones. I'm going to wrap it up with communication is key. Communication is key. Talk to your children. Really
Yes.
understand what they're thinking and how they're feeling. So I would definitely say that. I want to say,
Yeah.
Dr. Hill, that's so true. Yes, you got to communicate with them. Okay,
And
I see someone else.
I'm sorry, did I
Oh,
miss?
no, I was going back on some comments. Someone said my therapist suggested get a journal and write what you wanted to
Yeah,
say. And then
that's
another
what I was.
person said, yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, about the journal. Okay.
And I also want to say what helps. I try to meet with both parents, and I know some parents have different rules. But if you could try to make it as similar as possible so households could feel similar. And I know that
Mm-hmm.
right there is a struggle because sometimes when you have completely two different parenting styles, it make it super difficult. So I know it's
Yeah.
most challenging, but you want to make it seem like consistency is key for kids, right? Consistency and structure is key. But when they feel like they could get away with a mommy house and not, that could cause conflict in their behavior as well. Or when people like, well, I have you the most. Both homes are homes. You know what I mean? Both homes
Right.
are filled with love. Like kids don't have to be constantly reminded of, well, I'm the one that paid for this, and I understand why, because it's sometimes you looking at your child like I done did all this for you. You talking about, but sometimes they not, you know what I mean? They just want the love. Sometimes they say anything. And I'm not saying excuse anything because I am not that person, that parent counselor who tell you to let your child say any whatever. No, but
No,
there is
I'm be like,
a
I'll
way,
cover my eyes. Look.
but there is a way to
No, I'm just
go
kidding.
about it, right? You don't have to constantly put the other parent down to remind your child what you do, because the child, it causes conflict, it causes tension. You may cause the child to say, well, mommy said, and then that person's looking at you sideways, and then that child like, oh, you talking about my dad. You know what I mean? It's the child. Let me tell you, kids, when they get older, they're going to look back and see who did what. And I know
Yes,
that's not
they will.
here right now, but eventually it's going to, excuse me, come to them. Let it come to them naturally. But by you speaking negative about the other parent, it's not, it's just making you look bitter.
Yes.
It's making you look, and you may say, I'm not bitter. It's the truth. It's the what. Complain to us. Come to therapy.
Come to therapy. Say yes to counseling.
Let's talk
Please.
about it here, but not
Yes.
kids, because you can't say a child should be in a child place, but then you tell them adult business.
Right, and you're including them. So you said it on that one.
You
So
know,
thank you for posting that question, because that was deep on
what's
children.
pronounce her name right? Because I hate when people pronounce my name wrong. So I'm not going to pronounce your name. You can put your pronunciation correctly in the comments. But we thank you
Yeah.
for that, because that's something
Yeah.
to bring. Because that's something I do. I'm in the middle of doing that now, and my brother could tell you when I'm about to deal with this couple, I'll be like,
It's
babe,
a lot. It's a lot. They put kids in the middle of it.
and
So
it's
I
become
do see.
toxic.
Oh, right, right, right. So I
It's,
do
you
see
know,
we are
they
getting close
do
to
already.
time. Yes, it's 8:52. That's why I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's 8:52 already, y'all. So we definitely, please add any questions, any comments, let us know. And we do want to mention, as we wrap this up, with us saying all of this, grief has no expiration date.
Oh my gosh! Thank you for
So
saying that.
so we talked about the types, we talked about the stages, we talked about, how to even deal with it with children. But the main thing, someone said Daria.
Thank
Daria
you.
is my name.
I'm calling you
Thank you,
Zen and
Daria.
all type of stuff. Hey, Daria, girl.
Yes. Yes, you came with that question. Thank you. But, you know, grief has no expiration date. So we want you to know that as you go through these stages, if you just go back to 3, if you go back to stage 2 or stage 4, that is okay. That is okay. And if you find yourself stuck on a stage, reach out for help.
Absolutely.
Ask for help. Say yes to counseling. And so that's something we definitely want to mention, when to ask for help. So some signs where you find yourself um, not really doing your day-to-day activities, where you find yourself, it's hard to get out of the bed, it's hard to drive or go to work. This is when we need to say yes to counseling. When you find yourself still angry, and that happens, right? You can be angry where, on a religious perspective of like, why my father or why my grandmother, that anger, you're sitting in it. And what you're doing when you're sitting in anger, it's something called hypervigilance.
Mm-hmm.
And so with hypervigilance, it just feels like your body's in this constant state of just shaking, where it feels like it just wants to do something, but it can't do anything. So it's just sitting in that. And with hypervigilance comes very hypersensitivity, hyper awareness. So you find yourself just being triggered by everything. You're irritable. Someone says something to you, you just snappy. Say yes to counseling, because
Mm-hmm.
our body is in that. And so while your mind is like, oh, we can keep it going, we're just going to keep moving, I don't want to talk about it, your body is wearing down, because that
Mm-hmm.
that shake, your body's feeling it. So your mind might be disassociated, but your body's feeling it. So these are definitely little flags that your body is sending to you that, hey, we need to go say yes to counseling. Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Jones, do you have any that you want to share?
When you definitely suicidal, I know some people feel like
Yes.
things, relationships end, or people have transitioned on. They feel like they don't want to take, no longer live because a part of them have moved on. Please definitely always seek help. Whether, you know, if it's immediate, please 911 for suicidal, please, and let them know
Mm,
exactly what you're experiencing, so hopefully they can send the right people out, or just you could take yourself to the hospital and let them know this is what I'm feeling. um or call a loved one, call someone. So definitely, if you're feeling suicidal, definitely, like Dr. Hill say,
Mm-hmm.
the everyday day activity. You don't want to go get out the bed. If you're in a blame stage a lot, if you feel like you're in that blame stage for a long time, and you think it's your fault, or what could I have done, or maybe I should have said this, or maybe I should have done that, or maybe I should have stayed on the phone longer, you definitely want to reach out. And this is not a tip, but I also want you to understand, do not let anyone tell you to get over it, like Dr. Hill said. Like,
Right. Or just pray about it.
yeah, that's not okay. And please don't tell anyone that how to grieve or how long. Like that, like drives me insane. Like, get over
Yes.
it. Why? Why? You know what I realized? I feel like some people allow people to grieve their divorced ones longer than a death. Like, you let them grieve.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, Dick, and Harry for however long, but somebody, mother or father, you like, oh, everyone experienced
Right.
death. No, don't do that to people. You know what I mean? That's gonna make them feel worse or feel like they can't depend on you. So definitely the main three things, if you're gonna hurt yourself, someone, you know what I mean, and someone is like hurting you, just reach out for help, please. But I love that you mentioned anger, because people don't realize how angry they become after dealing with, not after, but while dealing with grief, Dr. Hill. So
Right.
much for, because you're not only impacting you, you're impacting others. You're snappy. You know what I mean? You could be jeopardizing your job, jeopardizing your livelihood, your mental health, your kid,
Right.
your significant other. And it's not their fault. You know what I mean? Like, you're making them suffer too. They want to probably be there for you. So please get help and allow the help, because there's
Yes.
sometimes trying to be there for you and you don't want to accept it, but why not? It's okay. Like, you know
Right.
it it's
Right.
okay, because I'm sure those people that don't want the help are the ones that have been there for everybody else. It's your turn to be, always don't have to be the help to receive the help. So please, start accepting help. It's okay. I know we're
Right.
running out of
Yes.
time, but I just mentioned before they cut us off. Happy Mother's Day to those who are moms. We sending love, light, healing energy to those who do not celebrate Mother's Day because they don't know how, because they're triggered, because maybe their mom, grandmother, aunt, godmother, one of the
Miscarriage.
loved ones miscarriage, those who never experienced being a mom. And people don't know that you're internally suffering, not experience being a mom, because there are people who
Stillbirth.
not
Yeah.
moms and they don't allow, but they're triggered that their peers, like, why haven't I? So we're sending love, light, healing energy to those who have not experienced, or who have been told they can't experience it. So I'm sorry, my throat is so dry. So sending love to you. And please know, if you're aunt and you any type of caretaker, godmother, whoever, you are a mom. So happy Mother's Day
Yes.
to you. Celebrate yourself in some way, somehow, some shape or form. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Somebody say happy Mother's Day to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we get cut off, we definitely want to show our merchandise. So I have on I Choose Me sweatshirt available on our website.
And I have on the tea and therapy tea.
Yes.
We don't have that anymore, but we have coffee and counseling on our website.
Yes. So definitely click that link in our bio to check out any merch.
We
If
should do a
you
Mother's
just
Day
join,
sale.
yes, let us know if y'all want a Mother's Day sale. Hit us up in our DM. Let us know. We'll
Yeah.
do one for you. And for those who just joined, thank you so much for supporting us. I'm so sorry we are at the end, but don't worry. We upload this on our YouTube. All of our
Yeah.
Talk Therapy Thursdays and Mental Health Mondays are on our YouTube. So
Please
definitely subscribe.
subscribe.
Yes, hit that notification bell so you can stay updated when we post videos like so. You can click the link in our bio so that way you can go directly to our YouTube. I'm sorry, I'm kind of speed talking. For those who are interested in counseling, please email us at info@stepscounselingconsulting.com. Send us a DM if you have to, or send us a link, and that way we can direct you to the right, well, to our email. But we thank you guys so
And
much.
May 19th is our next live, right? Is it May 19th?
Yes, it's May 19th with our special guest. We'll announce it later. So you
Yes.
guys definitely stay updated. We appreciate you guys. We're thankful for you guys. And if you are experiencing grief, you are not alone, but please say yes to counseling. All
Have a
right,
good
y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. Bye.